So welcome back to my video channel here, Pax Europiana. We are here from the street which is called Märzstraße here in Vienna, and it's a beautiful street in the center of the 15th district, and I really love it. Here we have Märzstraße. This is a beautiful place and a beautiful square, and I will propose to rename this street and here this whole area down there to Gürtel in honor of Zoran Djindjic, whose day of assassination it is today. You hear the bell is ringing in his honor, the memory. Actually, he was killed in Belgrade as the Prime Minister of Serbia in office, the hope of European Serbia. The bell is ringing to mark this day, the 12th of March. It was actually at 9:30 in the morning. He just went to his office in front of the Prime Minister office in Belgrade, and he was shot by people being employed by the Serbian state. It's a dramatic thing in European history, event, a tragedy, this kind of killing. And I think it's very appropriate to rename a major street in Vienna, the city he loved, and he was often here to visit, in his honor. And I hope that this will be taken up by the city authorities and really to honor him for the long term. Here, the Märzstraße, I think it's the appropriate location for the honor of such a European hero. And now let me a little bit outline why this matters very much and why I hope this will be done very soon. Let me just spend a little bit here. Yes, exactly. So Zoran Djindjic was the opposition leader against Milosevic. He was the unifying force of the opposition, and he was the voice of European Serbia. If he would be alive still today, 18 years later, I'm sure that Serbia would be already a normal European country in NATO, in the European Union, with the Euro, because he had this vision. He was the European Serbian leader that we needed, and that Serbia needed first of all, and he was killed for that. There's a lot of theories now today out there about the involvement of the mafia clans and drug smuggling and all these things. Yeah, that's all utter nonsense. Yeah, prime ministers are not killed by independent drug criminal people. And this was a group which was the Serbian Special Police. Yeah, Special Police means terrorist police. Yeah, they were a terror unit of the Serbian state. Yeah, run on completely criminal lines. So they blurred the lines between criminal activity and mafia activity, but the people themselves were employed and trained as state officials. They were not some kind of gang. No, they were under military hierarchy and discipline. And this was a long-standing tradition to employ such people and to train them so militarily in many communist countries, but especially in the Soviet Union and especially in Yugoslavia. There are many videos out there because luckily now some of the former UDBA, it's called, operative, they are ready to talk. And they describe exactly how the lines blurred between criminal activities and state terror police. And they have done that with killings in Austria, in Germany, especially the Croatian diaspora in the 70s and in the 80s. And it's exactly that same structure which was then used in the Croatian War, in Vukovar, in Bosnia, then later also in Kosovo. And it's basically exactly the same people, the same unit, the Red Berets, called Legia Special Unit. You have many names for that. But this is exactly the perpetrators of the genocide in Bosnia, Kosovo, and in Vukovar. These are exactly the people who then later killed the prime minister. And they did it for political reasons. It was not about just themselves being afraid to go into jail in Den Haag. No, most of them, they were also later jailed. They were not afraid of jail. These are not people who are afraid. These are trained terrorist fighters, and they're under clear state authority. And so this is basically the situation. And we shouldn't get confused by various kind of rumors or smear reputation, which later the enemies and the nationalists. And if you look on YouTube, you find so many confusing information and people who do character assassination of Zoran Djindjic. This is unbelievable. And they do it for political reasons. And I want to defend his reputation. I met him twice, once in Vienna, once in Belgrade, during the student protest. And he was really a very European style leader. And that's why his Europeanness was the reason he got him killed. It was not only he delivered Milosevic to Den Haag, and not only this, he was simply too European a personality for some in Belgrade. And it was not just the people who were basically then imprisoned. Now several of them were then later in a massive operation by the Serbian state, Operation Saber. And they were basically then also jailed, and also they are now serving their time. But it's not them who designed this operation. It's not like that in the world. It's not that the Secret Service itself is acting, or the guys are just the operational effort, the tool of the political world. Yeah? They were not independent actors by themselves. This is, I think, one of the things which by time will also be very clearly documented. Now, I may be just claiming it, but be sure that this is factual, and it will all be in the daylight by time. In Austria and in the EU, what does it mean for us? First of all, we should have streets and squares named in the name of Zoran Djindjic. There are some already, and that's good, but it should be significant streets and significant squares, because his part in toppling the Milosevic regime is very key. He was key to topple Milosevic. He delivered him to The Hague. He was also the personality transforming Serbia in this few years he was given to really run it, from 2000, 5th of October and later on, and then until the 12th of March 2003. Not a lot of years were left to him, and also they were very turbulent, because exactly these people made a kind of internal revolutionary effort already in 2001 and so on, and the whole thing was really a rough ride, and it ended so terrible. Was it a wake-up call for European Serbia? Yes, in some ways. After there was a kind of clean-up operation. But unfortunately, the forces of reactionary nationalism have taken power again in Serbia today. And we should be very careful that we don't allow Serbia under that condition into the European Union, because it would be exactly like even worse than Hungary today, or then also like Poland. It would be wrong. Serbia has to first clean its responsibility in the genocides in Kosovo, in the wars and genocide in Bosnia and in Croatia and Slovenia, and has first to join NATO. And the process of joining, obviously the debate about guilt, about responsibility, about why the NATO attacks were necessary, justified and good, and this process must be led with the Serbian public, similar like we in Austria also had to face our crimes, and for too long we were not. Yeah? And to some extent we have even not today, because we are still not in NATO, we have still not gone through this process. And you see that Western Germany in fact is a much more advanced society, because it has gone through that. It has been more clearer about its past. We have done some things in the 80s, and we have during the Waldheim years we really recovered and have cleaned, and it's not so bad anymore in Austria. But Serbia has to go through the same process, and that's very important. So the wind is here. Anyhow, I call for this street to be the Zoran Djindjic street in Vienna, and I call for everybody on every 12th of March from now to then, to the future, however long it must take, yeah, for Serbia to join the European Union and first NATO, and to recognize Kosovo, seal the peace with the euro, and honor the name of Zoran Djindjic by never forgetting his amazing contribution for democracy and freedom in Europe by bringing down the Milosevic terror regime and preparing the ground for European Serbia. Thanks a lot for listening.